non ti sento.
Provate a sentire come suona il tempio adesso rispetto a 30 secondi fa. Ok, benvenuti, buongiorno. Vi cantiamo 2 canti per iniziare questi momenti. So this is 2 songs for you before the program starts. But for the beginning, huh? Per l'inizio del program. As a beginning of that program.
What is it for? Walking alone, alone. What is it for? Walking alone, walking alone. Must our paths ever be like the winds of the sea? Oh, walking alone. What is it for? Singing alone, alone. What is it for? Singing alone, singing alone. Must our songs ever be like the winds of the sea? Oh, singing alone. What is it for? Laughing alone, alone. What is it for? Laughing alone, laughing alone. Must our joys ever be like the winds on the sea? Oh, laughing alone. What is it for? Living alone, alone. What is it for? Living alone, living alone. Must our lives ever be like the winds of the sea? Oh, living alone.
Another beautiful day in which we can share inspiration, divine guidance, and also fun. The fun that Swami brought us and that he keeps bringing us while we share God and His blessings. Today we have a few people speaking. We will have Shivani. I think you all know her. She has been a pillar. She is a pillar and played a fundamental role in building the work of Master in Europe. I think she's the Sangha Mata of Europe. Then we will listen to Naya Swami Uma. She is helping a number of people with her precious counseling. She is European. She spent many years in the US, where for many years she was the personal assistant of Swami Kriyananda. Then we will hear from 𝗟𝗚𝗪𝗘, who is also pretty well known. He is a great teacher of self-realization, of Raja Yoga. He, for a few years, he has been taking care of East Europe, helping devotees in that area. And he also played an important role, leadership role within our community. We will have a break after that. And I ask you kindly to come back on time, because we will have more people sharing. After the break, Nandini will speak. She will present the publishing house. And we will speak about Swamis Legacy. Thank you. Good morning, friends. Swamiji always considered each of us a personal friend, and he was a personal friend of each human being. Since we created this temple in 1996, Swami moved to live here in Italy. And he remained here for 7 years. Many of you present in the temple or at home met Swami in those 7 years. He thought of how important it would be to spread the Yogananda's teachings also in India, where Yogananda was born. Since Yogananda offered his mission, his work in the US for his whole life, so he was not well known in India. But Swami only did what Master wanted, so he waited. So in November 2003, he felt that call through probably a letter whom he didn't even know probably. He understood from that letter that the Guru was calling him to India, and within a week he moved. He moved to India. He flew to India. Clearly we were sad, but at the same time we thought of the joy of thousands, maybe billions of people might receive his teaching. So we were sad and happy at the same time. And then for 10 years, he brought the joy of Master to India. And then he came back here. He loved this place a lot, and he wanted to leave his body here. When he left, we also had this double feeling, So we were sad because we were without the physical presence of Swamiji, but also a double joy. A joy because he was free, omnipresent at last, and also his birthday, because on that day, 10 years ago, it was also his birthday, because he was reborn in the astral world, in my imagination. In reality, we see that Ananda exists on 3 continents, in America, in India, and in Europe. In my fantasy, in my mind, Ananda is a planet that exists in 3 worlds. There is an Ananda Loka in the causal world. There is an Ananda Loka in the astral world, where many of our friends are already there and they're waiting for us. And here, on the physical plane, we have Ananda on the material level. Swami traveled a lot to visit all the Ananda communities on the planet Earth. He moved often, he traveled a lot from India to America, all the centers in America he visited. And I think now he is doing the same in the astral world. He was a great traveler. He was able to speak many languages. And I'm sure he can speak the causal world language or languages. And he often comes here to visit us. Swamiji often spoke about previous incarnations of Yogananda. Yogananda said he was Arjuna, great warrior. We also have the little Arjuna here in the temple, Shivani's husband. Yogananda said he was another great warrior, William the Conqueror. And Swami thought he was the youngest son of William the Conqueror, the 3rd son, that is Henry I. And Swamiji shared that when he was Henry the first, he had only one desire, not to expand the realm, the reign of his father, but to bring to conclusion everything that William the Conqueror had started. He wanted to work and develop laws, because it was William the Conqueror who brought laws that lasted till today. Swamiji shared that also in this incarnation, his mission was the same. That is, not to preserve, like in a museum, what Yogananda had done, Yogananda created, and the mission was to go on with the mission of Yogananda. Yogananda put many seeds. He started many things. And we see in Swamiji's life how he went on developing those seeds. And in fact, he was very active. Yogananda started a school for boys and girls. And Swamiji went on with that concept. Narayan spoke about it yesterday. Another point was renunciation. Yogananda spoke about that, and Yogananda and Kriyananda created a new order of renunciants. Another point was the communities that were a dream of Yogananda, and Swamiji realized them. I remember in in the last days of Swamiji, I think about 2 weeks after his passing, we were at his home, and Narayani shared that in these last 4 years of his life, Swamiji started movies to share the teachings with a larger public. So he gave to Nandini and Shivani the task to create a movie. And the movie we created is the story of Ananda. In Italy, it's called Finding Happiness. In 2013, we worked 2-3 years to realize this movie. So the director's cut was completed after 2 or 3 years. And also the music was completed, so the movie was ready for Swami to see. And we showed him this movie. We were at his home. Maybe there were 10, 12 people. Swami was very, very silent, very withdrawn. And he saw the story of the first community. And there was an incredible deep silence in that moment. At the end of the movie, he had tears. He said, "I did what Master wanted. I realized what he wanted." And we told him, "Well done, Walter." And we were very happy that he was able to see in a clear way that he was able to complete his mission, the will of his Guru. And there was a prophecy that said that at the end of his life, Swami would touch a state called Dharma Moksha, that is the freedom of completing his mission. So for sure he reached that moksha, Dharma Moksha. And my wish always for him was, "Swamiji, don't stop. Don't stop at Dharma Moksha. Go on. Go to Kaivalya, that is complete moksha." So 10 years have passed, and who knows how much they last in the astral worlds. So we hope he touched the Kaivalya moksha by now. Let's go to his legacy. So that was his life, his Dharma. What did he leave us as his legacy? That was part of his mission here. Years before his death, he wrote his last will and legacy. And I would like to read a few passages from that. This is what he wanted to give us, leave to us. The first thing was the desire for yoga, a desire he expressed in one of his poems. That was, "O Divine Mother, my desire is to know Thee and to share Thee with everybody." And Swami often said that these were his two desires: to know God and to share that knowledge. And he wrote that in his legacy. in his will. As a legacy, a will for all of us, showing to follow him. It is my hope finally that Ananda will always remain faithful to the following priorities. Our primary goal is to find God and to unite our souls with him in divine love. And yesterday we attuned with divine love of Swamiji. Our secondary goal is to serve God above all. So serve God. Not to serve others, serve God in others. And he went on in his will, and my advice is that you read it. I think it is somewhere, probably on our website. You can ask for it. We can send it. He said, "My legacy to Ananda is spiritual in nature, primarily, and consists of the teachings, ideals, and vibrations that I have received from my Guru. And I would like to speak about this three legacy: teachings, ideals, and vibrations." The teachings of Master were not well known when Swami arrived to him. Books had been written, the trilogy, the eternal quest, the divine romance, and you can find many teachings in those 3 books, and also of course in Autobiography of a Yogi. But it was Swamiji, the one who brought Yogananda's teachings together and who offered them to the world in a way that was available for everybody. For me, his most important book in this sense, the teachings, is Art and Science of Raja Yoga. There in that book you see, for the first time available for a large public, with all the teachings of Yogananda. We see meditation, affirmations, philosophy, yoga postures, diet, healing, everything is in that book. In the first times, in the first years, Swamiji did everything, did all the teachings in Ananda. He was the only teacher. He gave speeches on Sundays. At the end of every summer, he offered a spiritual renewal week where he shared a lot every day. He taught every day about Yogananda's teachings. And especially at the beginning, his talks were full of Yogananda's teachings. Kriya initiations are full of Yogananda's teachings, and it's not easy to find them. But he shared about it. When he spoke about how to be before the huge wisdom, eternal wisdom, he was a channel for the teachings of Yogananda. I remember very well, I was sitting at his feet during all these lessons and speeches. I always tried to sit there, absorbing. I remember someone, when I arrived to Ananda in the first days, this person told me, when Swami speaks, don't try to understand with your mind. Keep your attention at the spiritual eye and try to absorb. because Swami, his legacy was to transmit, to give us not only the teachings, the techniques, but the vibrations he received from his master. And in the last years, when he was here in Italy and later in India, it was not very much the content of his speeches, his talks. More important were the vibrations he was offering, transmitting to us. He said, people won't remember what you say. They will remember your vibrations, the knowledge. So Swami wanted to be a channel for the teachings and for the consciousness of Master. And this is what he gave us, left us in his writings, in his music, in his talks. An important moment in offering, transmitting Yogananda's teachings happened after a seclusion of Swami. In the first years at Ananda, every year Swamiji had a personal seclusion retreat, and he also asked us to do the same. Usually, after a seclusion, he came out from those days with some inspiration from Master. The same was with St. Francis. Every time St. Francis went to Laverna, he had a new inspiration of how to express Jesus Christ's work. And Swami said, the heart of the teachings of Master is superconsciousness. That is important. Everything we do is to reach superconsciousness. So, he offered seminars, talks about superconsciousness. So we have an incredible legacy, precious legacy. What about the ideals of Master? What were his ideals? I want to read again from his legacy. My wish is that Ananda always remain true to these principles and remain faithful to the following twin ideals based on the example and teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. First, that Ananda strictly honor the dictum, people are more important than things. For people especially, in their spiritual needs, will always be more important than any organizational exigency. So Swami came for us, for our spiritual realization, not to create an organization. I told you many times that in one of his talks, I think it was in Canada, about in 1976-77, when Swamiji had a broad public, he said, I'm not interested in spiritual communities. And everybody were astonished, because already many people were interested in that topic of spiritual communities. And he went on saying, I'm interested in people and their personal spiritual growth. Till, as long as a community serves as a good environment for spiritual growth, I am in favor of spiritual communities. But if in the future communities don't serve that ideal, I hope God comes to burn communities. So, his legacy was for our path, for our growth, so as we can find the love of God and share it with others. And when Swami said and wrote, and it is in his legacy, in very precise way, he said that people are more important. He doesn't mean the desires, the preferences, the comfort of people. He's speaking about of their highest spiritual good. He means not to sacrifice always, also on a spiritual, on a personal level. Never sacrifice your spiritual growth for any practical need. So look first for his reign of joy, and the rest will be added unto you. The second ideal he gave us as a legacy, that Ananda remained true to our motto, 𝗦𝗪𝗔𝗠𝗪𝗔𝗡𝗚. Where there is adherence to right attitude and action, there is victory. Indeed, Ananda should define victory itself in terms of this principle, and never seek victory, even for the sake of its own survival, at the cost of this principle. So Dharma is our guidance, our guide, to do our best, to do what is right for ourselves and others, for this planet. So this is the legacy according to Swami. The legacy he gave us, the teachings of self-realization, so as we can reach Ananda Loka, astral and causal, the vibrations of Master that open our heart, and this ideal of the importance of people, and always to follow Dharma. Yesterday, when Yogananda spoke, he confessed that when he knew about Swami Kriyananda, he was afraid of what might happen to Ananda. How can Ananda go on without Swamiji? But what do we see now? After 10 years, not even a hiccup happened. Not even a hiccup disturbed the continuity of Ananda, of these principles, of these ideals, of these vibrations. Because Swami trained us as devotees, he trained us to share with others, he trained us as leaders. We are his legacy. It is us. When Swami saw the movie Finding Happiness, he wrote, I am so moved to see each of you acting in the movie. Each of you were himself, herself. You didn't try to be a model or a standard. Everybody was acting himself. Swamiji trained us in that way. So it's up to us, especially my generation, to train others, to share with others, to offer others the possibility to guide and go bringing forward this mission of Master Yogananda was an avatar. Yogananda was a Prem avatar. And just like the few apostles of Jesus brought forward, developed the teachings, the vibrations, the ideals of Jesus Christ, we have the same task as Swamiji, that is, sharing what Master brought for the whole world. Love of God, perfect joy. Thank you, Swamiji.
Shivani, she has to raise it for me. Esatto. Buongiorno a tutti. Good morning, everyone. I wanted to talk about Swami and his legacy in terms of he, the man, him, Swamiji himself. We can look at his accomplishments and everything. Oh, sì, Manu. Yeah,
Start
scusate.
again. Quindi voglio condividere, sono rimasta lì.
I'm not surprised.
Voglio condividere l'eredità e quello che Swami ha portato come eredità.
And look at, I mean, his legacy is so great in terms of his accomplishments.
E l'eredità che ci ha lasciato è così grande, se guardiamo proprio a quello che ha creato, che ha ottenuto.
And we know them so well, his books, his music, his recordings, everything.
E lo conosciamo molto
The
bene,
communities.
le comunità, i libri, la musica, le registrazioni.
But in terms of him, when I think of Swamiji, I think of an example.
Ma se pensiamo proprio a lui, a Swami, penso a lui come un esempio.
He taught us everything we know.
Ci ha insegnato tutto quello che sappiamo.
He taught us how to be disciples.
Ci ha insegnato come essere discepoli.
He taught us how to be loyal leaders and friends.
Ci ha insegnato a essere leali, leader, amici.
How to be in tune with Master.
Come essere in sintonia con il Maestro.
And I could go on and on and on and on.
E potrei andare avanti e avanti.
Through his example.
Tutto attraverso il suo esempio.
Because I worked with Swami so closely.
Poiché ho lavorato con Swami in modo gomito a gomito,
long before coming to Europe and when I was very young, when I worked with him, and continuing, and even now, I am asked about Swami in more personal ways.
ho lavorato con lui quando ero molto molto giovane, molti anni prima di arrivare in Europa e poi anche dopo.
And now,
E ora l'ho conosciuto in modo molto personale.
I am asked about Swami in very personal ways, how he did things.
Ho visto come lui faceva le cose.
I remember being asked once, and the person was being very, not coming straight out and saying what they wanted to ask.
Le persone quando si rivolgevano a lui spesso non erano dirette.
And I said, are you trying to ask me, does he do sadhana?
E lui chiedeva, ma stai cercando di chiedermi come fare sadhana?
I mean, does he meditate? Does he energize? Is that what you're asking me?
Mi state chiedendo se lui fa gli esercizi di ricarica, se lui medita?
And they said, yes. Does he do it as regularly as he talks about?
So sorry Uma, they were asking you? Scusate, non avevo capito. Quindi
About
chiedevano a
Swamiji.
Uma se Swami meditava, se Swami faceva gli esercizi di ricarica. E sì, e dice, mi state chiedendo questo, ma certo, lo fa regolarmente.
And I said, of course he does. How can you imagine that he would be teaching us all to do this if he wasn't doing it? And I see it.
Certo che pratica tutto questo. Come possiamo pensare che ci insegna a noi di fare qualche cosa che lui stesso non fa? E lo vedo che fa queste pratiche.
I've walked into his office and he said, "Have you energized? Because I haven't." And even if I had already, I'd say, I want to energize with you.
E a volte entravo nel suo ufficio e lui mi diceva: ma hai fatto gli esercizi di ricarica? Perché io ancora non li ho fatti. E anche se avevo già fatto gli esercizi di ricarica, gli dicevo no, non li ho fatti, facciamoli insieme.
The point is who he was. In India there is an expression
Il punto è chi era lui. In India c'è un'espressione
that the master embodies the teachings, is the
dice che
teachings.
il maestro incorpora gli insegnamenti, è gli insegnamenti.
And that's what I saw in Swamiji.
E questo è quello che io ho visto in Swamiji.
When he talked about,
Quando lui parlava di...
I knew this was going to be hard. Excuse me.
È un po' difficile parlare di questo.
When he talked about friendship,
Quando
would
parlava di
someone get me a glass of water
Qualcuno mi può portare un bicchiere
so I can
d'acqua?
have something to do?
Quando parlava dell'amicizia,
Thank you. So when he talked about loyalty or
lealtà
friendship,
o amicizia,
you experienced it with him.
la sperimentavi con lui.
He was a true friend.
Era un vero amico.
Many, many times, going through things, knowing others going through things, and people coming to talk to him on both sides of an issue, for an example.
Molto spesso quando qualcosa accadeva, si attraversavano momenti difficili, arrivavano persone che rappresentavano magari due lati, due facce della medaglia di una situazione.
You knew that he would be as dear and as kind and as sweet to the other person that you were at war with as he was with you.
Sapevi che lui sarebbe stato tanto gentile, tanto caro nel parlare con la persona con cui tu magari avevi un problema, tanto quanto lo sarebbe stato con te.
And his famous, advice to someone who had come to him in this situation. And he said, "Look, for who they are, they're doing the best they can."
Il suo più famoso consiglio, quando appunto in una situazione in cui ci siamo rivolti a lui, era: sai, questa persona sta facendo il suo meglio.
And the person, she said to Swami, "Well, what should I take away from this? What is my part?" And he said, "For who you are, you're doing the best you can."
E poi magari la persona gli chiedeva: ma che cosa posso fare io? Qual è la mia parte? E lui diceva: beh, per quello stai facendo il tuo meglio, anche tu.
When you see someone consistently living what he is teaching,
E quando tu vedi qualcuno che vive coerentemente ciò che insegna,
there is deep, deep trust and faith in that.
allora senti proprio una profonda, profonda fede.
He never just took sides in anything.
Quindi mai ha preso le parti di qualcuno in qualsiasi situazione.
Very, very fair.
Molto equanime.
Yeah. So as an example of how we should live our lives according to Master's teachings as disciples,
Quindi, come esempio di come dovremmo vivere la nostra vita di discepoli secondo gli insegnamenti di Yogananda,
Swamiji was without peer
Swamiji non aveva pari,
because he was all of the things that he was asking us to try to arrive at.
poiché incarnava tutto quello che ci chiedeva di diventare.
So, looking at what I wanted to say about the different areas of one's spiritual life,
Quindi guardando quello che volevo dire nelle varie aree della vita spirituale
and the things that he has suggested for us
e le cose
continuously,
che lui ci ha sempre suggerito continuamente,
I was looking at, for instance, leadership, his book on leadership.
guardavo ad esempio alla leadership, il suo libro sulla leadership.
And he said the fundamental, the foundational concept of spiritual leadership
Ha detto che il concetto fondamentale della leadership spirituale
is support.
è dare supporto.
And what Shivani was talking about, people are more important than things.
E di che cosa ha appena detto Shivani? Le persone sono più importanti delle cose.
So this is Swami transmitting Master's teachings on a topic like leadership.
E questo è Swamiji che trasmette gli insegnamenti di Yogananda su un argomento importante come la leadership.
And then you look at him, you look at how he leads.
E poi lo vedevi come lui rappresentava questa capacità di guidare.
And he follows those principles absolutely.
E seguiva quei principi in modo assoluto, totale.
So in the great things, discipleship, leadership, friendship,
Quindi in questi grandi aspetti, il discepolato, l'amicizia, la leadership,
you see where we're going, where we want to be.
vedi proprio la nostra direzione di crescita, dove vogliamo arrivare,
When you look at Swamiji's life.
quando guardi la vita di Swamiji.
But even in the smaller, I think of them as smaller, the personal parts of the spiritual life, when you're being challenged about whatever it is in your life.
Ma se guardiamo anche la nostra parte più piccola, diciamo personale, quando siamo sfidati dalle cose della vita,
And I remember, because this was something that was a really important teaching for me when it happened.
vediamo lo stesso. E infatti ricordo, per quanto riguarda me, un grande insegnamento.
In the past, Swamiji used to send every book that he wrote to self-realization.
Nel passato Swami spediva ogni libro che scriveva alla Self-Realization Fellowship
With a letter about why he wrote it, and he's inviting them to read it, and isn't this wonderful, and etc.
con una lettera di accompagnamento in cui spiegava perché l'aveva scritto e li invitava a leggere il libro.
And I remember always thinking, because the letters were so sweet,
E
so generous and kind.
E la lettera sempre molto dolce, generosa, gentile.
And they were always they would write back threatening a lawsuit.
E in genere rispondevano minacciando una causa legale,
Every time.
ogni volta.
So I was always thinking, doesn't he realize what they're going to do, what they're going to say? I mean, he's writing another letter like this.
Quindi nella mia mente io pensavo, ma insomma,
Why?
ma non si rende conto, no? Di quello che ovviamente risponderanno per l'ennesima volta, ma perché lo fa?
And look at what I'm thinking. Doesn't he realize?
E quindi io, guardate cosa pensavo, ma non se ne rende conto?
So he had just finished The Essence of Self-Realization.
Aveva appena finito l'essenza della realizzazione del sé.
And he came in, same thing. This is the one that's going to change their minds. This is the book that's going to do it.
Ed è venuto e ha detto, questo è il libro che gli farà cambiare idea, questo libro.
Let's write a letter. And so we wrote the letter. I
Scriviamo una
packaged
lettera.
everything up.
E di nuovo ha scritto questa lettera con tutte le cose
This is the
dentro.
one that's going to do it.
Questo è il libro che farà la differenza.
And this time, instead of just thinking, doesn't he realize?
E questa volta, anziché semplicemente pensare, ma non si rende conto che...
I said, Swamiji, they are just going to spit at you like they do every time. Why are we bothering with this?
E quindi questa volta invece ho parlato, ho detto, ma Swami faranno la stessa cosa con te, sputeranno su di te, spit? Sputeranno su di te come hanno sempre fatto.
And he said, very quietly,
In
very
modo
soft.
molto quieto e calmo.
'Cause
Mi
I
ha
was,
detto, io ero ovviamente reattiva.
And he said, Uma, I can't afford to think like that.
Uma, non mi posso permettere di pensare come questo.
And I remember immediately feeling everything in that statement. Think about it.
E c'è tutto in questa frase, pensateci.
Every time he wrote a book, he sent it to them, they sent him a nasty letter.
Quindi ogni volta scriveva un libro, lo inviava all'SRF e ogni volta arrivava una lettera in risposta terribile.
It's so natural to say, well, I'm not bothering with them again.
Ed è naturale reagire dicendo va bene, basta,
Why should I?
non li guardo più, li ignoro.
They're awful, they're terrible.
Sono terribili, sono cattivi.
None of that.
Mai.
Of course he knew.
Ovviamente sapeva,
Of course he understood.
ovviamente comprendeva,
But he was holding his consciousness right where it should be.
ma teneva la sua coscienza in alto, proprio lì dove doveva essere.
And refusing to allow that in and say, why do you bother? Why should I? No, I can't afford to think like that.
E quindi diceva non posso permettermi di pensare così, di reagire, di dire ma chi me lo fa fare?
And I understood how much he did that on a daily basis.
E ho
In
compreso
everything.
quanto lui facesse quello sforzo, scusate, l'ho detto io sforzo, quanto lui facesse questo in ogni cosa che faceva, ogni giorno.
He would not let his consciousness sink
Mai permetteva che la sua coscienza si abbassasse
to
di livello,
the heck with them.
che, dicendo al diavolo.
The same positive, faithful, constant upholding of his consciousness.
Quindi aveva sempre questa coscienza elevata, costante, amichevole, generosa.
He was so much an example of what I should have been doing that I was immediately ashamed of myself, immediately.
Quindi era un esempio di come anch'io avrei dovuto comportarmi e subito mi sono vergognata di me stessa.
And never wanted to forget what he was telling me in that. I can't afford to think like that.
E mai ho scordato quello che lui mi stava trasmettendo. Non posso permettermi di pensare così.
It's a very powerful mantra for us. We can't afford to think like that.
E questo è un potente mantra per tutti noi. Non posso permettermi di pensarla così.
We have to live it. We have to live the teachings.
Dobbiamo vivere gli insegnamenti.
In the little things and the big things.
Nelle piccole cose e nelle grandi cose.
Because consciousness, attunement, is always something that we can try to have, strive to have.
Perché la coscienza, la sintonia è sempre qualcosa che possiamo cercare di avere, sforzarci di avere.
And what do we want to be in tune with?
E con che cosa vogliamo essere in sintonia?
And he was a living example of that.
Quindi lui era un esempio vivente di questo.
I remember seeing him. We were sitting around a table in Palo Alto.
Ricordo una volta eravamo seduti a un tavolo a Palo Alto
And some young men,
e un giovanotto,
devotees,
devoto
close to
ovviamente,
Swamiji,
vicino a Swami,
but they were laughing and joking about a woman who was their boss.
stavano con altri scherzando ad alta voce e ridendo di una donna che era il loro capo.
And they'd done it to her face, but they were just laughing around the table finishing breakfast.
E lo facevano di fronte a lei, ma lo facevano scherzando intorno al tavolo della colazione.
And Swamiji was sitting at the head of the table and he was watching this. I was sitting at the other end facing him.
Okay, Swami sedeva a un capo del tavolo e li guardava mentre loro scherzavano. Io ero seduta dall'altro capo del tavolo di fronte a lui.
And he allowed this to go on for a little while.
E lui ha permesso che questo scherzo andasse avanti per un po'.
And all of a sudden,
E
when the laughter dropped a little bit,
E poi quando il loro ridere un pochino si era calmato, improvvisamente ha detto,
Swamiji said very quietly,
in modo quieto,
"Not one of you could have done what she's done."
nessuno di voi avrebbe mai potuto fare quello che lei ha fatto.
And they stopped immediately, their heads,
E loro subito hanno smesso di ridere ed hanno basato la testa,
because it was true.
perché era vero.
Their jokes were fine. In other words, what they were joking about was true.
Quindi loro scherzavano su qualcosa di vero, di divertente.
But Swamiji was not letting it rest there.
Ma
It's not
Swami,
going to end there. It's going to be balanced.
quindi ma Swami non gli ha permesso loro di rimanere sul livello dello scherzo e ha controbilanciato con un livello più elevato.
And we went on to other things.
E poi abbiamo parlato di altro.
Those memories of Swamiji, and him being the example he is, in the gentle way he used to do it.
Questi esempi, queste memorie che abbiamo di come lui si comportava in queste situazioni in un
Will
modo
never get
gentile
old.
non andrà mai perduto.
They sustain me
Mi
through my
sostengono
spiritual life.
nella mia vita spirituale, tutti
But
questi esempi.
even closer to when he passed, he was much more direct and forthright and less, less delicate.
E negli ultimi anni, prima del suo trapasso, era forse un pochino più diretto, più diretto, meno delicato.
And I had a friend tell me that in India she was talking, they were having breakfast, she and Swamiji.
E ricordo un'amica che era con lui in India, stavano facendo colazione insieme.
And I don't even remember what they were discussing, but she said at some point, I said, "Oh, that's just not my personality."
Stavano parlando di qualcosa, a un certo punto lei ha detto, oh beh, ma questa, non ricordo veramente di che cosa, ma ha detto, beh, ma questa è solo la mia personalità. Non è la mia personalità.
And she said Swamiji just slapped his hand down on the table, which she's never seen him do.
Ha proprio battuto la mano sul tavolo, cosa che non abbiamo mai visto fare.
Personality has nothing to do with it.
E ha detto la personalità non ha niente a che fare con questo.
Souls, that's what we should be concerned with, not personalities. And she said, I'm sitting there.
L'anima è quello di cui ci dobbiamo preoccupare, non la personalità.
But she said it was so surprising, but again, so pertinent.
Era molto sorpresa di questo, ma comunque era estremamente pertinente.
So later she asked him about what had happened.
E più avanti, più tardi, le ha chiesto.
And he said, I don't have time to talk indirectly anymore. I'm talking
E lui ha detto, non ho più tempo di parlare in modo indiretto. Adesso devo parlare in modo diretto.
Be conscious of that.
Quindi siate consapevoli di questo.
It's very easy to look at Swamiji just in terms of his humanity.
Quindi è molto facile guardare a Swami all'aspetto umano.
But I always have an image of him as a man.
E l'immagine che ho io è quella di un uomo,
But then behind is this great light
ma
and
dietro
consciousness.
c'è questa grande luce e coscienza.
And never forget that's what's flowing through this form, this man.
E non bisogna mai dimenticare ciò che sta fluendo attraverso di lui, attraverso questo uomo.
It's very difficult for many of us. I mean, it's not difficult, we don't even think about it. We don't think of or talk about Swami in the past tense.
Ed è difficile per noi parlare di Swami al passato.
I was saying it's not even difficult.
Non è
It's
difficile, non è
natural.
difficile, è naturale.
Swami said, not said.
Quindi diciamo, Swami dice,
says,
non
not
Swami
said.
ha detto.
You understand. It comes out naturally because he is so present.
Quindi parlare di lui al presente è naturale perché lui è così presente.
The people that never knew him, you know him because you know Ananda. You know what it's doing. You know what it does for you. And it will go on. That's a sign of greatness.
E questo accade per le persone che l'hanno conosciuto, è un segno di grandezza.
That it doesn't die with the person that leaves.
E cioè che ciò che ha rappresentato non termina con la morte della persona.
Esatto. He has created a work and raised leaders and disciples.
Ha creato un'opera e ha fatto crescere leader e discepoli
That can and will continue his legacy.
che possono e lo faranno, è quello di continuare portare avanti la sua eredità.
He was a spokesperson for Master.
Era il rappresentante del maestro, parlava in sua vece.
So whatever you know and love about Ananda is because of Swamiji.
Quindi tutto ciò che amate e conoscete di Ananda viene da Swamiji
And his vision.
e dalla sua visione.
And the people that I always think of, he was a spiritual father to us.
Lui era un padre spirituale per noi.
So I think of us, we were raised by him, spiritually
Quindi
speaking.
noi stiamo, parlando in termini spirituali, noi siamo stati proprio cresciuti da lui.
I mean, when I think of myself and others coming to Ananda, did we ever imagine that we would be or they would be anything other than, I mean, I didn't know anything when I arrived at Ananda. Nothing.
Quindi se penso a me e ad altri che siamo arrivati ad Ananda, avremmo mai immaginato tutto questo? Quando io sono arrivata ad Ananda non sapevo niente.
So Annie, who I was before, came to Ananda. Swami created Uma.
Quindi
Does that
possiamo
make
dire che
sense? I hope
Annie, il mio vecchio nome, è arrivata ad Ananda e poi Swami ha creato Uma.
And it's very, very real. That's very, very real.
E questo è molto molto reale, molto concreto.
It's not from me. He puts you into positions or situations and just expects you'll do it. And so you do.
E quindi che cosa ha fatto? Ci ha messo in certe posizioni, in certe situazioni e si aspettava che noi ci comportassimo di conseguenza e l'abbiamo fatto.
Meaning with faith and trust in you.
Cioè ci metteva in certe posizioni e situazioni con fede e fiducia in noi.
And you see everyone growing into their potential because of that.
E ognuno di noi è cresciuto in questo modo proprio dal suo potenziale.
And here you all are doing the same.
E voi tutti state facendo lo stesso.
It doesn't stop.
Non finisce questo.
Because Swamiji is not in his body.
Non finisce perché Swami non è nel corpo fisico.
From Master to Swamiji to us, it
Quindi
will go on.
andrà avanti dal maestro a Swamiji, a noi e oltre.
For anyone that is in tune with it.
Per tutti coloro che sono in sintonia
Feels the desire to live it.
e che sentono il desiderio di vivere tutto questo.
And the fulfillment is the word that comes to mind. So I came to Ananda searching, just like everyone
Io
else
sono
has.
arrivata come chiunque altro ad Ananda in cerca di qualcosa.
But you don't know if it will happen, if what you're seeking will be there, will happen.
Ma non sai quando arrivi se quello che cerchi sarà trovato.
But it's a very common experience for people that come to say, I feel at home.
Ma molto spesso le persone quando arrivano qui, penso che sia un'esperienza comune, dicono mi sento a casa,
I feel at rest.
mi sento rilassato,
This is mine. This is mine.
questo è mio.
And all of that is because of Swamiji.
E tutto questo è grazie a Swamiji.
That's how he created and developed Ananda.
È proprio così che lui ha creato e sviluppato Ananda.
It's how he lived his own life as a devotee.
È così che lui ha vissuto la sua vita di devoto.
And to go back to where I started, which was when I said that people ask me, does Swamiji really energize twice a day and meditate twice
E
a
quindi
day?
torniamo alla prima domanda, quando le persone mi chiedevano ma veramente Swami fa gli esercizi di ricarica 2 volte al giorno, medita 2 volte al giorno?
Seeing the circle of how things develop.
Quindi guardate questo cerchio, no, di come le cose si sviluppano.
I was in Pune
Ero in Pune
and I was walking down the hillside past Swamiji's house.
e stavo scendendo la collina vicino alla casa di Swami.
He was leaning against the wall
E lui era appoggiato al muro
and Narayani was helping him energize.
e Narayani lo stava aiutando a fare gli esercizi di
And
ricarica.
he was leaning against the wall because he couldn't stand on one leg without leaning.
E si appoggiava al muro perché non riusciva a
Like I
stare in
can't
equilibrio su una gamba sola senza appoggiarsi.
And she was helping him to still energizing,
E lei lo stava aiutando a fare gli esercizi di ricarica.
still doing his sadhana.
Stava facendo i suoi sadhana.
And on it goes.
è avanti così.
to all of us. Narayana didn't see me walk by.
Narayani non mi ha visto passare.
It was so moving to me.
Era così emozionante, così
Very, very touching.
veramente mi ha toccato.
With his body very challenged,
Il suo corpo era molto sfidato,
very physically challenged all the time.
fisicamente tutto il tempo,
And still,
e
he's
comunque
trying to.
stava cercando di fare la ricarica.
So, a great soul
Quindi una grande anima
manifests teaching,
manifesta insegnamenti,
and it continued to the end of his life.
li incarna e va avanti così tutta la sua vita.
This is a part of Swamiji's legacy that can never die,
E questa è una parte dell'eredità di Swamiji che non morirà mai,
because it's a part of every heart and soul.
perché è parte di ciascun cuore, di ciascun'anima.
And I think that his greatest, for me, his greatest gift is when he says, you know, people would say, who is Swami Kriyananda? I'm a devotee of Yogananda. I'm a disciple of Yogananda.
per me-
That's what I want to be.
E la cosa più importante, e si riassume che mi tocca di più, è quando Swami viene chiesto chi è Swami, gli chiedevano chi sei, diceva sono discepolo di Yogananda.
And everything that means.
E tutto ciò che implica questa affermazione.
So all of us, be
Per
a
tutti noi,
disciple in the highest and truest sense of that word.
Essere discepoli nel senso più vero e più elevato.
And use Swami as your example.
E Swami è il nostro esempio.
Grazie mille.
Shivani shared about next generation. And I think it is interesting to see how every generation takes this legacy and brings it to the next level. And I'm joking because I'm taller, so next generation. But in a sense, it's true. Narayani spoke yesterday, and it was very interesting because she spoke about these 4 extra years he remained to do things that Master and Babaji wanted him to do. Something she didn't share, but I think she thought about it, is that in these 4 years, Swamiji trained most of my generation. Some in a direct way, like Narayani, others in a non-so-direct way. What Uma shared was that Swami created all this. I met Swami for a shorter time, and not in such a direct way as her. But I think I couldn't say anything different. I know Swamiji formed everything I am. The way I think, the way I try to speak, the way I try to perceive the world around me, and also the way I perceive what is within me, the way I dress. I cannot find one thing that has not been touched, transformed, and formed by Swamiji. I remember when Swamiji left the body, when we have these celebrations, many things come to mind, things that might be forgotten otherwise. And it is a detail, it's not so important, but it's fun. when Swamiji's body was on this table, the table was a little lower, because when we heard Swamiji left the body, I remember I was in the office with 𝗟𝗜𝗑𝗪 and someone came in, maybe Arjuna. He told us Swamiji left the body. And the first thing we wanted to do was to prepare a place for Swamiji's body here. And 𝗟𝗜𝗑𝗪, without thinking, me and him, we went to a room on the retreat of the refugio and we brought a bed here. There was a flow, we didn't think. And it was interesting, because now people are sleeping on that bed and maybe they don't know how blessed that bed is. So maybe we can write something on that bed. Here Swamiji laid. I remember in that moment it was very peculiar, because at a certain point we brought here this table or bed, and they prepared this blue sari. You can see here, I was taking something else. I stopped. I was chanting within me to Swamiji. And this wave of realization came of how much we received from Swami. I remember I thought, if I tried for the rest of my life to give back what I received, it wouldn't be possible. I wouldn't never be able to do that. But I also knew that I had to try. And I remember that stronger than ever, I felt this understanding that the rest of my life I had to follow in his footsteps at my best. And it was not important how much I could do, as long as I tried to do my best. When Shivani spoke, and I'm sure that I'm not the only person who thought the same or felt the same, when Shivani shared about Swami's legacy, teachings, ideals, and vibrations he received from Yogananda, from his master, it's interesting to think how she said that we are his legacy, as long as we receive or we open up to these teachings, vibrations and ideals, and we try to express them in our lives. I remember I heard this story that when Swami watched Finding Happiness, someone in an interview of the movie said, Swamiji asked me to do this interview. He spoke to me twice and then he never spoke to me again. And many people said that. And Swamiji, they asked Swamiji what they should do, and Swamiji gave them 3 words and let them exercise that for years. When he heard that, he called that person at the interview and he said, I've been always with you. And once Swamiji explained, what I do, I project thoughts, inspirations to people. And if people are in tune, and if that idea is in tune with them, with their center, they take it and they make it their own. And they express it. And Swamiji is doing it still. I'm sure it happened to many of you that you're doing something and maybe you don't know what to do, and then a thought comes and you feel that it has the right vibration and you follow that and it works. Where does it come from, that thought? Probably it comes from Master through Swamiji. When we chant at the beginning of this morning, Peter received that inspiration, that thought of Swami to take his music and to bring it to another level. And I think you can feel it. Last year, when �რძΙχ and Devi came here, �რძΙχ said, I can see this desire, this ability to bring the music of Swamiji on the level where it can be accepted on a broader level, to a broader audience. One of the things Shivani mentioned was this thing about superconsciousness. He said that the essence, the very essence of the teachings of Master is superconsciousness. And years ago, he created a course called Superconscious Living. And many of you probably know that I created an online course that takes that seed and tries to put it into practice. For me it was interesting because many times I heard Swamiji speaking. He said, when you need anything, concentrate at the spiritual eye, ask for guidance and it will come. He said that so many times, in so many different talks, that it sounded like something light. But do we do it? Is it easy doing it? Yes, in a sense it is easy. For me, it is interesting. He said that not because he was good at doing it, but he wanted us to do it. So when I created this course on superconsciousness, my first thought was, do I have to do it? Maybe more people and someone else can do it better. But at the moment, nobody could do it. And I knew I had to do it. I remember we had 8 days for recording it. It was a very busy period before and after. We just had that window of the 8 days for recording it. And we had to record it in Vrindavan, in a room which is surrounded by bedrooms, and there was so a continuous flow of people. Every time someone opened one door, you had to stop and start again your recording. And it was interesting because we did it in 1 week. And you could feel there was, of course, a guidance, but especially a push. At the beginning, the flow came like this. So at the beginning it was very clear, the first important points. We started recording. At the beginning it was not so easy, because for me it was the first time. I never recorded with a camera with no audience. But I felt it was the right thing to do. And I knew that the guide would come. And at a certain point, we started recording, and it didn't flow very well. We had a break. I was speaking with Anthony, who was the technician, and he said the sentence. I don't remember the words exactly. But I felt that that sentence changed everything. And I think that is also a blessing from the spiritual family, that we can help each other to trigger this divine guidance. We went back after the break, And we did again that video, and it was strong, with a strong flow behind it. And I saw that my attitude at the beginning was wrong. I was thinking of myself instead of what I had to do. And Swamiji said it many times. When you have a problem, think the solution is, and the solution will come. Don't focus on the problem. Then we started recording, and we did in English and Italian, in 2 languages. 6-7 hours of recordings. And we did that in less than a week. And the last day, we recorded for more than 8 hours. And I don't know if you ever did that. If you do that in a small room with all the lights on you, it's so hot. It really requires a lot of energy. But the energy came. It was not ours. It was interesting that what Swami gave us as an example is that in his life he always tried to take Swamiji, Yogananda's thoughts, inspirations, and he tried to manifest them. And I remember in his book, the biography of Yogananda, it is one of his last books. He wrote a sentence that was very strong for me. He was speaking about the 3 big delusions. And when he reached one of these, he gave an advice. And he said, this advice comes from my own experience, not from what Yogananda said. And what was important to me was that whatever he said before or wrote before came always from Yogananda. There was always a thought of Yogananda, or maybe just the gaze of Yogananda, the inspiration. Many of us have been here for many years. We did the purification ceremony for many years. And it's interesting to understand where it comes from, because there are 3 main points in the ceremony. The first is when we reach the minister says, the master says, open your heart to me and I will come and will take care of your life. Remember when Dr. Lewis met Yogananda? Master asked him his obedience and unconditional love. And when he gave that, Dr. Lewis said that Master said, now I can take care of your life. It comes from that. And then the blessing on the heart. And Swami said that when he met Yogananda for the first time, Yogananda blessed him, touching the heart, and changed his consciousness. This is the second point. And the third point is to burn the message during the note we write during the purification ceremony. I think you remember in the autobiography of the yogi, when Ananta, Yogananda's brother, told him, your astrological chart says you have to get married. And Master took that astrological chart and burned it. He put it into a small bowl. And he said, the past seeds cannot blossom if they are burned in the fire of wisdom. So Swami meditated so deeply on any aspect, any episode of Yogananda's life to understand the universal principles through those examples, and brought them in our lives. For example, in the purification ceremony. And I would like to do something for you, and then I'll share another story. One of these seeds of superconsciousness I felt, and I think many perceived is that in his original teachings of Yogananda, he said that every state of consciousness is linked to the direction of the gaze. Subconscious if you look down, conscious if you look straight forward, superconsciousness if you look upwards. And he gave a small exercise on how to touch these three states. And Swamiji took it and expanded that, because he added affirmations to help us in these three states. So let's do the affirmation to enter superconsciousness. Sit up right. Let's do a double inhalation. Tense the body, vibrate strongly, exhale and relax. Another time. Flood the body of prana, of energy. And one last time. And relax. Then look upwards. Your concentration strongly, deeply at the point between the eyebrows, as if you wanted to pierce that point, as if your concentration is a drill. Let's do this affirmation twice, in Italian and in English.
Mi sveglio nella tua luce.
I awake in thy light.
Mi sveglio nella tua luce.
I awake in thy light.
Sono libero.
I am free.
Sono gioioso.
I am joyful.
Mi sveglio nella tua luce.
I awake in thy light.
Mi sveglio nella tua luce.
I awake in thy light.
Mi sveglio nella tua luce.
I awake in thy light.
Sono libero.
I am free.
Sono gioioso.
I am joyful.
Mi sveglio nella tua
I
luce.
awake in thy light.
I awake in thy light. I awake in thy light. I am joyful. I am free. I awake in thy light. I awake in thy light. I awake in thy light. I am joyful. I am free. I awake in thy light. Prova a rimanere nel...
Then try to remain at the spiritual eye. Let yourself expand in that light. So we are Swami's legacy as long as we decide, we choose to be that. Last night when we did with the candles, we went to Swamiji's house. At the beginning I was far behind and I heard more people chit-chatting instead of the music. But I wanted to be closer to the music, so I started walking faster and faster, and the more I was going forward, the more I felt I could hear the music and the inspiration. Then I went close to the person playing the music, and I chanted and I felt a great inspiration. The same for us. We always can choose how close we want to be. I remember a few weeks after Swamiji left his body, I had a dream. In that dream I saw Swamiji. And it was interesting because at the beginning I was a little surprised. Part of my mind said, Swamiji, what is he doing here? Then we started talking, and he gave me a few advices. He said something outwardly, let's say. Then he looked at me, and mentally he said, do you want to get closer? You want to come closer, don't you? And in that moment he came closer, sitting before me, and my mind, without hesitation, said yes. And I went closer, And I remember his face, his gaze. They didn't look like Swami's eyes. It was Divine Mother, Master through him. And I perceived that great power coming in. And it was so strong that I leaned back on the chair. And when I woke up, I understood that Swami is asking that to each of us. Do you want to come closer? And the moment we say yes, the blessing comes. We don't have to do it perfectly. We don't have to know everything. We just have to say yes and try to get closer. And if we do that, the blessing comes. And another, again, for the three speakers of today. Now we have a short break. And we have more people, inspiration. We meet not later than 12:28. 12:28.
italiano. Erano le 12:30 americano, non italiano. Era 20 minuti di pausa americano, non italiano.
Hello, hello, hello. Lady, can you hear me? Madam? Good. Mi spiace per Uma non l'ho tradotto.
If I start chanting now, that will take another 5 minutes.
Just briefly, I would like to introduce Nandini, who was present in the story of Shivani when she shared about the movie Finding Happiness, where Nandini played a very important role. I remember her, especially with all the presentations when Swami launched a book. Nandini created everything, all the whole event. If you needed the president of Italy, she was able to find him and invite him. So now she is sharing about the new developments of Ananda Edizioni, that is now Yogananda Edizioni. Good morning, everybody. It's very nice and moving to be with you this morning, with this wonderful spiritual family at home as well. I know you're many, and it's very special to be here to speak about the glorious life of Swami Kriyananda and his legacy, extraordinary legacy. Today you all have bright eyes. Yesterday it was full of blessings, of grace, and I see Swami shining in all of you. I like to think that on the shoulder of each of you there is a small blue angel protecting you, surrounding you in his aura, in his blue aura, because Swami is our divine friend. He's our spiritual father and we are his children. We just have to call him and he is with us. So let's imagine this blue angel on our shoulder. Swamiji had a divine vision. It was the vision of an avatar. Swamiji explained that avatar bring their spiritual disciples to bring. They bring these people with them in order to, in the following incarnations, to develop their vision. And Master immediately recognized Swamiji as his disciple. He called him, and he gave him very specific instructions. He said, your task will be to write, to do editing, to to speak, to give speeches, talks, and he personally told him, "You have a great work to do." At the end of his life, Yogananda told him, "I'm very pleased with you. I want you to know that." These words of Master have been the lighthouse of Swamiji for his whole life and supported him in his great work. There was not one day in which Swami he wondered, what can I do more to serve my Guru? So his whole life was dedicated to this divine service. So he gave us this incredible legacy. We know, you know it, communities, books, schools, music. And today I would like to share of this beautiful diamond that are books. Swamiji wrote a lot in his life. It's very hard to think of a moment of Swamiji's life in which he wasn't writing. He wrote about 150 books, and all of them are jewels, precious jewels, and an incredible legacy. So this morning I wanted to show you physically these jewels that we published in Italian. I would like to thank those who translated these books, Saja especially, and others, and all the people who worked at these books. And I would like to do a little experiment with you this morning. Usually we read the books with the mind, with imagination, but we want also to try to feel these books because they have a power, they have vibrations. Shivani spoke about vibrations. So let's try to close our eyes, let's sit with our spine straight, and let's try to perceive the power coming from these books, which are not pages, ink, ideas. Try to perceive them with your open, receptive heart. They are divine vibrations. They are treasures of light and consciousness. And Swamiji speaks to us in these books with no filters, directly. It is the consciousness of Yogananda that passed to Swami, and from him it came to us. That's why they are so powerful, enlightening. They open the road, they heal us, they uplift us. They are jewels and pillars of light that bring us to the Masters, to our realization. You can open your eyes now. It's a little exercise I like to do, and my advice is for you to do that. Take a book of Swamiji in your hands and try to feel that book, perceive that book. And also having these books close to you is a blessing because they create a protective aura. Of course, we have many. We don't have the time to speak of all these books. So we'll share something about when we launched a book with Swamiji. We did many. Swamiji worked on these books day and night. He worked on these books because they had the right vibration, the right consciousness. And he was doing editing on these books even up to 50 times. And he told to Saja, even a single comma counts, because these books had to transmit a consciousness. And he felt this responsibility to try to transmit Yogananda's consciousness. Sometimes he called us on the phone. He wanted to have his opinions, his feedback on what he wrote. And he listened to every comment we gave him, small or big, because each of us could be a potential channel for Master. And that was also his great humbleness. He was always serving. He was always joyful. Every time he wrote a new book, he was so joyful, full of enthusiasm. And he was so happy. He wanted immediately to publish the book in Italian. And he was able to transport us, uplift us in his lightness. He often said, this book will be a bestseller. This is my most important book. Because he wanted to impress that transforming power in each book. This morning, I would like to share about a few of these books through the great launches we did in Italy. And of course, I cooperated in that. So we can do that together. These launches of the books were very blessed events. There was a strong river supporting us, an incredible grace. All the doors opened, and we lived through miracles, one after the others. So it was a great experience for those who were there and for those who are here today, because his blessings are here in his books. The first one, I brought also a few photos so you can perceive. The first launch was in 2005, Conversations with Yogananda. In 2004, Yogananda, so we were at 𝗟𝗚𝗙𝗘 in Milan. It's not very visible because of the light. Durga, can you switch off the lights? No? So 2004 was very challenging. We had a legal cause. Swamiji was in India. He couldn't come back. One day I entered the staff room. Kirtani and Shivani were calling Swamiji on the phone. And they told me, Nandini, invite Swamiji to launch one of his books. So I took the phone and said, Swamiji, we have ready Conversations with Yogananda. Can you come for the launch of the book? And immediately Swami said, yes, I will be there in 20 days. It was a wonderful news because we missed him a lot, but we only had 20 days to organize everything. So I found the hotel because we wanted to do that in Milan, advertising, flyers, invitations. There was such a grace at work. Swami Yogananda was blowing on our sails. So we found this beautiful hotel in Milan, Hotel Bron, and it was a wonderful event. We had about 600 people to honor Swami Master, of course, and also Ananda's work. Swami, at the end of this event, said it was an historical moment. It was very important for our work in Italy and in Europe. Here you can see Swami signing the books. It was a new cycle for Ananda Europe. This is in 2006, Promise of Immortality, an incredible work of Swamiji where he compares the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita, and he creates a bridge between East and West as Yogananda wanted. And here I would like to share a few words from the introduction. He says, when my guru told me that my task was to write books, I was surprised. I said, "No, sir, haven't you written everything that needed to be written?" And then my vision was so narrow for him. He was surprised and answered, "Don't say so, we need much more." So this book is one of my many efforts to realize that task. I did my best in these pages to withhold my personal opinions. For many years I prayed my Guru, do help me so as everything I say expresses only your wisdom. In these years I did my best to get in tune with his consciousness. In this sense, this book was written through me instead of by me. So this, I have to say, it is not my book. So this was really inspiring. Swamiji never considered himself the author of his books or music. He was just the channel through which the wisdom of his master was flowing. And he continued, I tried to do my part in realizing what Yogananda Babaji 𝗟𝗚𝗩𝗘 gave to future generations. This is the task of the sincere disciple, offering the teachings of his Guru in a way that you can transmit their variety and subtlety, so as they can reach a broader public and enlighten it. So Swamiji gives here a clear direction for the future. So he asks us to spread these teachings to more and more people. Let's go on. Again, the promise of immortality of the beautiful choir at the Hotel Brunn. Again, the same book launch. Now it's 2007. We present the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, a masterpiece by Swami Kriyananda. In this book, Swami really transmitted purely the wisdom, the knowledge of Yogananda. He was able to get in tune completely with his Guru. Swamiji wanted to written this book for long. At a certain point, so he felt that Yogananda could speak through him. So in less than 2 months, Swami wrote 600 pages, a very precious treasure. Every day he was able to write 10 pages. I was able to be in India in those days when he was writing this book. And I can say that there was an incredible energy in the house around him. Even outside there was a sort of a bubble. And especially he was different every day. Every time he was writing a new concept, a specific chapter, he was expressing a different divine quality, grace, bliss, unconditional love, joy. It was really an incredible work, a very sacred text. When he came back to Italy, he said, "This is a book for eternity. It is not mine. It is Master's. It is not my comments. It is Master's comments." We were in the Campidoglio in Rome. It was an incredible event in a very important place. And what is important was the energy we were able to feel. So many people that they couldn't come in. We had people on the wind trying to listen to him, climbing the windows of the doors to be able to listen to him. And then he received a prize that were the keys of the city that is given usually only to presidents of states. And this was a very important recognition for him. The following year, We have Revelations of Christ in Rome, 2008, at Valle Theatre, a very important book about original Christianity. Teatro Valle was very beautiful. There were people everywhere. It was like a spaceship of consciousness. The energy was so concentrated. It was like a little piece of paradise on earth. It was able to transmit us consciousness, as Shivana Uma said before. So it was a very important moment. Here I have a personal story to share. When Swami wrote this book at the beginning, he had quite a strong position on church. And you know, we are in Italy, we have the Vatican, we have the Pope. Some of us asked him to be a little sweeter while speaking about the church. And he answered, I received the book like this, and this is how it has to be published. Because this book came from his guru. He said, well, why don't you send one copy to the Pope? And I did it, but I didn't have any answer. And it would be beautiful if I could really can advertise this book on the journal, on the papers, on television, at the radio. So I left my doubts aside and tried to be in tune, and this is what I did. If Swami thinks it is right, it must be right. So everything flew, and many doors opened, beautiful interviews on papers, at the radio, and even on television. Twice on national television, which is not an easy thing for a small publishing house, spiritual publishing house. And that was the grace that was around Swamiji. These miracles happening, it was enough to be in tune. Everything happened. It was true at the time, and it's true also today. As 𝗟𝗚𝗘 was saying, every time we are in tune, that grace is working and helps us to realize anything if we step a little aside and if we allow this grace to work through us. Let's go on. We reached 2009, religion in the new era. Narayana said something important. He said in the last 4 years of Swami, we're like a bonus, because he had to do important things. Yesterday I was thinking about it. What happened in 2009? Many things. It was a very prolific year. Swamiji founded the new renunciant order and wrote the book about that. He started in December the first draft of the movie. And we launched the religion in the new era in Milan and also at Teatro Valle in Rome. So he wanted to give us keys on how to face this new era, Dwapara Yuga. He wanted to give us a view, a long-term view. This is not a very well-known book, but there are many pearls in it. He wrote passages on love, death, attunement, on confidence, self-confidence. So I invite you to find more about this book. That was in 2009. Let's go on, 2010. What happened? There is a very important book, Autobiography of a Yogi. It's not by Swamiji, of course, but it's a very important book because it brought Swamiji to Master. But in a sense, there was the energy of Swami because he wanted to publish this original edition of 1946, the edition he read as a young man, with no changings, the edition that Yogananda created that transmits us Master without any organization behind it, the wonderful pure spirit of Yogananda. That was very important to Swamiji. So he supervised the translation because he wanted to be sure that the consciousness of Master was there in the purest way possible. Here we are in Rome at the yoga festival. We were in a huge tent, full of people, crowded, all there, everybody there for Yogananda and Swamiji. Then we went to Rome. Swamiji met many people in that event. And I remember when he met Franco Battiato, the Italian famous singer, because this meeting shows an incredible divine quality of Swamiji, the ability of helping others to feel their friends. Franco came, he wanted to meet this direct disciple of Yogananda. Immediately, Swamiji treated him as an old friend. They spoke, laughed, they spoke about Yogananda. At a certain point, Franco asked, how can I go beyond the temptations of the ego? And Swami answered, try first of all to find the reign of God, and all the rest will be added upon you. Swamiji never tried to convert anybody or to bring anybody on the path. He wanted people to find a direct personal communion with God. Then he gave him a blessing. I brought him to the door and he told me it was wonderful. It's so special to see how Swami gets moved when he speaks about his master. Yogananda lives in him, truly. I go on, it's a rich story. We reach 2011, Swamiji wanted to do something else, launching education for life in Italy. And this is a very important aspect of Swamiji work, education. There we find the method of education for life, a new educational model based on Yogananda's teachings. So it was important to create the basis for this movement in Italy. This movement is now flourishing. We have schools in Italy and in Europe. And I really thank all the people that are working in this area for this ray of his legacy. It's so important for the new generations. Let's go on. 2012, another very important year. Swamiji felt he wanted to do something important for his master. He wrote Paramahansa Yogananda, a biography, because he said in autobiography, Master is very humble. He never speaks about himself. He speaks about other saints, but he was great. So in this book, he shares many stories, original, personal stories, to give homage to his guru, to the greatness of his guru. This is what he wanted to do before leaving the body. He wanted to honor his master. We launched it in 3 different places, in Rome, in Bellaria, and in the yoga festival in Merano. It was the 21st, 2012, a year before his passing. The whole yogic community was there, moved. They honored Swami because they really felt he was a very special soul. All of them felt his greatness. 2013, we had 2 great launches. Shivani remembers. We wanted to present Finding Happiness officially, the movie, and also The New Path. We wanted to launch it at the end of April, but Swamiji left the body a week before that. And that is a message as well. It's my personal opinion. It is as if Swamiji wanted to say, this is my life. You can read it in this book. In this book, there is the work of the community. And he was very happy of it. of the movie. Now you go on. Also in his last speech of Easter, I offered my life to Master. Now it's up to you to go on, to continue. We are his spiritual children. We are his spiritual family. As Yogananda said in autobiography, Lord, thank you, you gave this monk a great family. These words are true for Swamiji as well. We are his family, and we have this honor and responsibility, sacred responsibility of going on with this work. We are all called to serve. He said that in many ways, this glorious inheritance of our masters. So what can we do concretely? So the publishing house goes on publishing the teachings. We try to keep them alive and ever new. For some people there is the dharma of writing. Swamiji said, my books are seeds. Others will have the task of letting them blossom. So Narayani wrote a book, a biography, Asha, Devi, and others are writing books. We have 𝗟𝗜𝗙𝗘 who wrote many, many books. Swamiji encouraged him to write. Sahaja Shivani is writing a beautiful book on the healings, the healing techniques of Yogananda. So it's a tree full of fruits. What about the rest? Those who don't write, we can get in tune with these books, read them, feeling them, spread them. We can incarnate these truths and share them with others. To honor Swamiji, we have to be in tune, ready to serve. Let's say that yes, we are ready. Let's try to bring this yes within us and serve Master as Swamiji did. Each of us in its own specific way, with our own talents, abilities. Maybe we won't leave a huge legacy as Swamiji did, but we can add our own flower. Yesterday we put our own flowers on where Swami's body was. So the seeds have become flowers, and the flowers are becoming fruits. Many fruits are almost ready, and I'm sure that with the blessings of Swamiji and of our masters, these fruits will be many, abundant, and very rich. So thank you for each of you who are here, welcoming this legacy that will go on and will go on expanding to many, many souls, with this incredible task of helping to uplift the consciousness of the planet, also for the many who are following from home. So thank you to all of you, and of course to our Swamiji for his example, his legacy, his example, and especially for being our celestial friends, always at our side. Let's look at our last photographs. They're not very visible. We want to merge in that beautiful energy. Let's feel the bliss Swamiji brought to us.
Peace give us our heart's love. Peace give us our smile. praise of thy presence within us, light that all strife reconciles. Amen. Amen. God bless you all.
We have 3 more friends, very precious ones, who accepted to share something. Maria and Dominic are first. They've been close friends of Swamiji for many, many years. I remember Swamiji always kept them really close to him. Here they are. Good morning, everybody. We are very happy to be here again, and we are happy to share our experience. I'm a little moved listening to Swami's voice. For us, Swami was the friend of the soul and still is. Why that? Because a friend of the soul is forever. We met Swami in the 90s when we came here for the first time. He welcomed us as great old friends. As Darshan said, he wanted us close to him when he was here. He was very happy to chat with us, to speak to us. He invited us for a tea at his home. He spoke to us. He wanted to know about our lives. We met him. Maurice, our son, was just a child. He was convinced that Swamiji was his grandfather. Maybe in a past life he was really his grandfather. And this continues now that he's a grown-up. So Swami is with us always. I could share a lot, but I would like to share 2 episodes that touched me directly about his books. One was the request of translating *��ᵉ in Modern Thought. I was very surprised because I'm not a translator, professional translator. My knowledge of English is not so deep. So I asked, why me? And they told me that someone tried to translate it, that it was a difficult book because it was a very philosophic book. So my competence, my knowledge about philosophy might work, might help. So I tried. And I started reading the book. And there I was in a conflict with myself because some interpretations of the philosophers made by Swami were different from my opinion. I disagreed. So how could I translate something I didn't agree with? I have to tell him. So I asked him for a meeting, And with his smile, he said, he welcomed me with his open arms. We had a beautiful talk about philosophy. We came out with the same opinions of before. So he couldn't convince me and I couldn't convince him. So I was very happy. Thank you, Swami, thank you. But do you still want I continue? Go on, go on. Go on translating. And I was happy. When I took the book again in my hands, I understood that my problem was not solved at all by that conversation. It was even worse. So I started meditating on this. I understood my lesson. And the lesson was that my thought was not so important. And that I had to translate him. A very complex teaching. Not only because I had to translate his thoughts, I had to be in someone else's shoes who had a very high spiritual level. But especially because translating someone in that conditions where I found myself meant to do spiritual steps. That is, putting my ego aside. So it was like giving birth to a child. But I reached the very end of it. And the book was published. As you know, as you probably know. Of course, it is not a perfect translation. I told him when I finished, and he told me, you know that perfection is only up there. We do only imperfect things here, but with the spirit of doing our best, reaching God. Then there was a different experience. I was more mature. He asked me to translate the book Superconsciousness. That was a very, very complicated work and so incredibly deep. I learned so much in doing that. I felt close to him, close to Master, close to the community. And it was a very unique experience. And from that experience, I learned a lot. And I would like to share one thing, because time is short, and I want to leave some space to Dominique. I learned. I had many tests in my life, as most of us probably. And that experience helped me understand that in every test we receive, we have to identify with the divine within us. Because if we don't do that, we are overwhelmed by what life gives us. I'm Dominic. It's the first time you see me, probably. I'm very happy I am back to Ananda. A couple of days ago, I was in Nice. And then a friend called us. And I have to say we were lucky that we were able to reach Italy and Ananda today. This is a beautiful chance we had. So it didn't happen by chance. And in the same way, we didn't meet Swamiji by chance. Because things never happen by chance. So Maria said we came here in the 90s. When Swamiji arrived, I understood immediately. He was a very sincere man. Because it's not easy to be sincere. Sincerity is one of the highest virtues created by God. Every day we have many emotions, many fears. Human beings are not coherent. So being sincere is difficult because in every moment you have to say something, do something. Is it right what I am doing? You need the strength and also the sincerity. Swami was like that. He was a true friend, a friend for all, also for those who were afraid of him. But he was a friend. So the first task for him was to be a friend. And the others might respond in the same way or not. But he was sincere in that friendship. He knew that I loved him, that I respected him. And he knew I didn't want always to be with him, because many people wanted to meet him every moment, so I didn't want to overwhelm him with my presence. He understood that. And every time we were here, he asked, "Where is Dominic?" And when he entered the temple, always he greeted me. And when he left the temple, he came, he took my hand, and he touched my shoulder. And I told him, and I always told him, "Swamiji, I'm always with him." Always I told him that. I'm always with you. Here people spoke about attunement. And I have to say, I had dreams of Swami before coming to Ananda. Swami as he was, exactly. When we came here, he invited us to his house. And he was exactly in my dream. The table, the blue shirt, the light blue trousers, the tie, and the hair, when he had more hair. And I said, "Swamiji, I had a dream of you." "Oh, really, Dominic?" "Yes." "But as you are now, especially the face, the expressions." "Oh, really?" He thought a little, and I understood that he was wondering if he had projected that image I received, or if I was able to see things. After a while he said, "I am happy. It's interesting what you shared." Of course, in that moment, I don't know. I didn't know if I was able to see if he projected his image, but I know that I was open to receive, and I was able to see because of attunement. So probably the two things happened. He projected his image, and I was open to receive. The second thing that happened not by chance is that one day we were eating here in Ananda. He invited us. 𝗦𝗪𝗔𝗠𝗦𝗔𝗡𝗚 of Alberto was with us from Rome. And on that day, I had the same shirt of Swamiji. He looked at me for a long time and he smiled. And I also smiled back. I understood that he realized we had the same shirt. When we left the dining room, 𝗦𝗪𝗔𝗠𝗦𝗔𝗡𝗚 said, "Dominic, you have the same shirt of Swamiji's." Swamiji, what happened? How is that possible? And I said, well, it's a sign, an important sign of life, God wanted this, for sure. For me, it was a sign, clear sign, that Swami was my friend. An important thing I want to say before finishing is that the day he had to go back to America, that day I didn't come to take him. I was very sad. I came the days before to see his body, to greet him. But on that day, I was so sad. And when I reached the retreat, I felt I went first to my friend Andrea Bonomi and I felt that my body was burning. And it was so warm, the air was warm, hot. In that moment, if a child could touch me, I would fall on the ground. I was burning. I didn't have the power to walk, the force to walk, the strength to walk. I think that on that day, Swami did something on me, because that I think was related to my karma, that probably was burning, probably to help me to be stronger. Thank you. Thank you. We want to welcome and honor the commitment of two precious friends. I would like to invite them to share shortly, because we don't have much time. And I'm speaking about 𝗔𝗠𝗦𝗘, who was with Swamiji from the 80s, and 𝗟𝗚𝗓𝗓, and Dominic just mentioned him. He is co-founder of the Ananda Center in Rome, and with 𝗦𝗪𝗔𝗠𝗦𝗘 we are still leading it. So let's listen briefly to 𝗔𝗠𝗦𝗘 and 𝗟𝗚𝗓𝗓, and thank you. In these 2 days, we heard a lot about Swami. It's a lot, but not enough. We cannot explain a soul that was so vast. So instead of speaking of Swami, I would like to speak to Swami, and I would like you to do it with me. If you wish, close your eyes. Dear Swami, how can I call you? Maybe you are a father, a brother, a friend. Yes, you are a father, because you taught me to walk on this path. You helped me to. You taught me to speak with the heart. You taught me to listen to myself, others. You taught me to be silent, to be able to listen more deeply. As all fathers, you gave me a family, this family. I have to call you a friend, because in the moments when my life were difficult, you welcome my tears, my difficulties, and as friends do, you did your best to help me. You are a brother, Kriyaban, a brother in Kriya, a brother before our Guru, meditating together, praying together, doing our best to be a good disciple. You said many times you had two desires in life: the desire to find God and the desire to help in others finding God. So, dear Swami, you were able to accomplish all that. In the days after your passing, when he was here in the temple, I wasn't able to come here. And I was very sad of it. I remember I had the feeling of a void, when the same I had when my father, biological father, died, just like a void with no weight. And I did the same that I did with my father. I told Swami, this void needs to be filled. You cannot leave it like that. So, from that moment, I think I started thinking of the blue dress, because I don't know if I'm able to renounce. Swamiji renounced, and Nandini explained us so well what renouncing means. I don't know if I'm able. But since this blue dress is not something accomplished, but it is a path to walk on, I'm sure that with his blessing I will try to be like him, not only as a disciple, but a true 𝗟𝗓. we don't have much time. So I won't be able to share with you all the many beautiful moments I lived with Swamiji. Very often I had the possibility to be alone with him. And it would be difficult to share the depth of them. I would like to share 2 episodes. A few years ago, many years ago, when Swami was able to move freely, walk freely, he came to Rome in a manifestation for peace, and he had to speak. He was one of the speakers. And while the others were speaking and we were waiting his turn, Swami helped me to sit, me and 𝗦𝗪𝗘𝗘, next to him, one on the right, one on the left. He took our hands and I left. I felt. I lived an experience that it is difficult to share. My spine was like a champagne bottle getting opened. And that has a lot of it was a great help in my spiritual growth. The second episode was the last one. It happened when Swami left the body. His body remained here for a few days. 𝗦𝗪𝗘𝗘 and I were here. Then they had to bring Swami's body to America. For a number of reasons. There was nobody that could go with the coffin. That had to be moved to 𝗦𝗪𝗚𝗩𝗪 for bureaucracy, then to Rome, to the American embassy for more bureaucracy, then to the airport of Fiumicino, where the coffin had to be sent to America. So 𝗦𝗪𝗘𝗘 and I had the honor of being with him in this trip from Italy to America. It was a beautiful day, like today, beautiful sunny day. And while I was taking him, accompanying him, I felt that Swami was greeting us with no nostalgia, with a lot of love. And doing that, being with him, was an incredible experience. When I greeted him and the coffin was sent on the plane at the airport, I gave him a piece of my heart, and which is already still with him. Thank you. Thank you, Dayalan. Thank you, Rijumati. Thank you, Nandini. Organizing something like this when you're always worried about the timing. It's a miracle because every speaker was able to go so deep. They really brought us beyond time. Time was not an issue this morning. All of you were part of Swami. Thank you, 𝗟𝗓𝗓, 𝗟𝗓𝗓 Nandini. Ruby has something very important to share about this afternoon, and then enjoy your meal. And thank you. Look at friends, our friends Dominic and Maria.
Evoluti da voi, perché io sarò